so excited. I'm fired up. I cannot wait to get this because, as always, what we are going to talk about this morning, I know is going to be a game changer. It is going to be the thing, the linchpin that is going to make this whole thing different for so many of you. And I cannot wait to dive into it. I cannot wait to share it because this topic, this moment is going to be one of the differences between where you are and where God has called you to go. And so as we get ready to get into this, there are two things I need you to do. Number one, I need you to jump in the chat. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from. Say good morning. Shout me out. I want to shout you out. But then number 2, if you have a team, I need you to send this to them right now. Send it to them right now and let them know, "Hey, look, we're getting started on day 12, and we're gonna be talking about counting the cost." So this is gonna be a very pivotal day. This is gonna be a very, very, very pivotal teaching that we're going to walk through because as we talk about counting the cost, we're really talking about getting honest about what it's going to take for you to get from where you are to where you need to go. You as a leader need to know what it's going to take for you to move from where you are to where you need to go. Your team needs to know what it's going to take for you to get from where you are to where you need to go. And Nehemiah shows us the blueprint, man. I want y'all to get this. I hope y'all can tell, man. I have been digging into Nehemiah. Nehemiah is my guy. I have been walking with him and thinking through his mind and seeing through his eyes. And I want to share that with you because not only is it here to impact your life, but it's even impacting my own life. I'm seeing even in my own life things that I did not think could really things that I just never thought about. That Ephesians 3:20 says that he can do exceedingly and abundantly all above all you could ever ask or think. And these are just things I haven't thought about. And God is exceeding those expectations. I never thought that I'd be in a space where I was helping to relaunch 25 churches in a single weekend. I never thought that I would be in a space where more than 100 churches were sitting and taking what God had given me and implementing it and seeing great transformation in their church. I never thought that we would be at a place where we're approaching more than 1,500 leaders that we have served through all of our different trainings and products and all kinds of things. I just did not think about it. It wasn't because I had a lack of faith. It wasn't because I didn't have ambition. It's just because it wasn't the path that I saw. But now here we are. And one of the reasons that we are here is because I can remember the moment where I had to stop and count the cost. I can remember the moment where it became clear to me that I had to stop and settle in and realize and figure out what it was going to take for me to get from where I was to where God is calling me to be, right? We've talked about getting our heart right for a week. We've begun talking about catching vision. And now we're stepping into some of the practical and we're getting closer to ending out that vision piece and preparing to go into building our teams and actually launching the vision. And so, one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to get your team here. I want you to share this on Facebook. I want you to take this link on YouTube and I want you to send it to 5 or 10 people that you know and tell them, "Hey, look, you need to come and hear this live. You need to come and get involved in this. You need to come and plug into this because I believe it's going to be transformational." All right. So, we are going to be talking about counting the cost. But before we do that, let me shout out all of my people who are in the chat. Good morning, Esther. Esther is so often my first one in the chat. So good morning to see you. Esther is becoming like our fifth daughter, almost another one of our girls, a part of our team. Good morning, Pastor Hodges. Good to see you again. Had you with us last night for the webinar. Good to see you this morning. Good to see you, Vincent Price. Good to see you, Pastor Marshall. Good to see you, Pastor Henry. Good to see you, Natasha from Toronto. Come on, Canada. Y'all better get in the house. Come on in here. Good morning, Pastor Rush. Good to see you. Good morning, Pastor Paul or Paul. Good to see you. Good morning. It is, I don't know what the name is. Pastor Wells. Good to see you, Pastor Wells. Good morning. Pastor Price down in Bogalusa, the BOG, as I like to call it. Yes, sir. The BOG. Looking forward to the ministry comeback. Good morning, Vincent. Good morning to all of you. And super grateful and excited to have you here and plugged in. And I want to say thank y'all, man, because some of y'all have been locked in for the whole 12 days. And some of y'all, you found out maybe a day or two later, a couple days later. And since you found out, you have been plugged in. And man, I just want to thank you for committing to the process. And my prayer is that it's been helpful to you, that you have been taking something away. As a matter of fact, if you would, I want you to do me a favor, is if you would jump in the chat and tell me what's been your biggest takeaway, what's been most helpful to you so far in these first 12 days. We're on day 12, so you've been here 11 days. What's been your biggest takeaway so far? What's been most helpful to you? I would love to know because, one of my secret tricks, and this is for those of you who are leaders, business owners, whatever it is, you want to know where your best content comes from. It often comes from the comment section, the comment section of your videos and your posts, the comment section of other people's videos and posts who are doing what you are doing. And so oftentimes I'll go to somebody's comment section and I'll see what people are saying, and that will inform me on what to create next, what to talk about next, what kind of resources to share. And some of the best resources I've ever created, as a matter of fact, we've got a free ebook that we put together that's on our website called 10 Ways to Revive a Stuck Church. And a lot of that came from I just kept looking at the problems that pastors would say they were having, and from that, I started to match up a solution to each problem. And so in that ebook, 10 Ways to Revive a Stuck Church, I talk about the barriers that I've seen so many pastors face. Then I talk about a solution to go to it. So some of your best content comes from there. All right. Welcome, Vincent. Glad to have you. This is your first day. Good morning, Pam from Dallas. Good morning, Pastor Joe down in Louisiana. Good morning, Pastor Kebrew. Super, super excited to have you and have you plugged in. All right. So let's jump in. I want to dive into this. Today, I'm going to walk through this lesson myself. Latoya was slated to be our guest today, but we're tag teaming and we're a team. And so she's taking the kids to school, and so since she had to take the kids to school, she could not be on live this morning. But we're working that thing out, so you'll get a chance to see her later this week. And we're gonna make this thing happen the best way we can. And so we're getting ready to navigate that. But we're gonna walk through this. So let's go to Nehemiah chapter 2. We're gonna go back a few verses from where we've been. We're gonna go back to verses 7 through 9. All right, verses 7 through 9. All right. So we're excited to have you. All right. So Pastor Mark said ownership has been his biggest takeaway. I love that. Pastor Key Bruce said, I have permission to resign from the old assignment. Come on. You are not stuck where you used to be. Good morning, Pastor Karen, Plant City, Florida. Good morning, Pam. Well, glad to have you on your first time. Today, we are talking about counting the cost. In the first week of this challenge, we talked about how Nehemiah had to have a revival in his own heart before we rebuild our businesses, before we rebuild our ministries or our organizations. We've got to let God deal with us. And so in the first week, we dug out what it takes to be a fruitful and effective leader. And in the second week, we are really focused on vision. So much of our focus is on developing the vision for where we need to go. And today is about counting the cost. Today, we are about to get really clear and really honest on what it takes to get from where we are to where God is calling us to be. If we want to take the walls from burned down and broken down and the gates from destroyed by fire, and we want to build a secure city that is going to be everything that God has for it, then one of the things that has got to happen is that we've got to first know what it's going to take. We got to know what it's going to take. If you want to lead a comeback in your life, in your church, in your business, in your nonprofit, in your ministry, in your family, in your finances, you've got to know what it takes. You've got to sit down and you got to count the costs. And that's what we're going to do today. All right. I shared this with you all before that last year I decided that I wanted to repair my credit, and my credit was in disarray. It just was. I had spent so much of my own resources trying to rebuild and build the ministries that I was building. I tried a business that failed. I tried so many different things, and my credit was in the tank, y'all. My credit score was so low, I'm embarrassed to tell you what it was. But I joined a program, and I joined this program, this community that was all about helping you to rebuild your credit and so and so. And I walked through the program, and I got on my wife's nerves. Every night she came in the room, late at night, she's going to bed. I'm sitting on my computer because I'm working on cleaning up my credit. I'm discovering stuff that was on my credit report that belonged to somebody in California. Somebody in on the West Coast had used my social security to do stuff. And I discovered that there was a ton of things on my credit report that had absolutely nothing to do with me, and I was sitting there and I was going through it. But the first step of the process I eventually rebuilt my credit to the tune of about a 200-point increase over the course of about 4 months. Like it was absolutely insane how fast and how well it worked. But the first step that they told me is that you got to pull your report. You got to pull your report because guess what? We can't fix it if we don't know what the problem is. We got to count the cost. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. All right. So let's go to Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 7 through 9. And y'all see Unpaper Bible say, look at that. Y'all see them tabs? That lets you know I ain't no rookie around here. All right. I've been doing this for a long time. All right. So let's dive into it. So, Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 7 through 9. Here's what it says. I also said to the king, so at this point, Nehemiah has heard the news. He has fasted, he has prayed, he has cried out to God. He's done all those different things and he has come back to the Lord. And now he has gone before the king. He looks sad. King is asking, man, what can I do for you? All right, so here we go. I also said to the king, if it please the king, let me have letters addressed to the governors of the province west of the Euphrates River, instructing them to let me travel safely through their territories on my way to Judah. And please give me a letter addressed to Asaph, the manager of the king's forest, instructing him to give me timber. I will need it to make beams for the gates of the temple's fortress, for the city walls, and for a house for myself. And the king granted these requests because the gracious hand of God was on me. When I came to the governors of the province west of the Euphrates River, I delivered the king's letter to them. The king, I should add, has sent along army officers and horsemen to protect me. All right, man, this is so good. It is so chock full of wisdom that we've got to step into this. All right, so here's Nehemiah. He has gone before the Lord. He is clear on what he has to do. He is clear on why he has to do it. All right. And that's one of the things that comes from revival in the leader's heart is that when a leader gets revival in his heart, he begins to get clear on what God has called them to do. You get clear on what God has called you to do, but then also you have a great sense of why. And we talked about that yesterday, that your why has to be bigger, that your why has to be bigger than your excuses, because there's always going to be reasons for excuses. There's always going to be reasons why you can't. There's always going to be reasons why you shouldn't. There's always going to be reasons why it won't work. But you've got to have a why, a calling that is bigger than your excuses. And so Nehemiah has come to that point, okay? He's come to that point, and as he's come to that point, now he goes before the king. And as he goes before the king, he looks sad, and the king says something, and he asks him a question that we wrestled with earlier over these past few days. Look at this. He says, what can I do for you? What can I help you? What can I help you with? If you are a leader, you must have the answer to that question. It is a travesty if you are spending your life expecting and praying and asking God to send you help, but you cannot define what help looks like. Asking for help is too vague. You need to be more specific. What exactly do you need? The king says, what do you need? Nehemiah could have just said, man, I'm struggling, man. I want my people to be better. And now the burden of responsibility is transferred to the king, and the king is thinking, like, what do you want me to do? You want me to send people in a construction crew and all this? What are you asking me to? And he would have missed it. But Nehemiah had to have an answer prepared. Before he goes to ask for help, he has clarified what help is. You know, one of the things that we started talking about this week on Thursday during our coaching call for our pastors, we started talking about our Easter planning. And as we talked about our Easter planning, one of the first things I had them do, all of our pastors are working on it right now as we speak, is that they are laying out what are the volunteer roles that we need to fill. Like, who is on your team? That's the first thing that we're starting with. I said, listen, before I can help you, I need to know what you got. You need to tell me who the people are. You need to go and do an assessment. I need you to make sure you fill these 5 roles because you've got to have these 5 roles. If you've got more than that, here are the next 7 roles that you need to fill. Because if we're going to double the size of your church on Easter Sunday, here are the things you need. You got to go in there. You got to know exactly what you have. And this is what Nehemiah comes to, is that Nehemiah comes for the king, and the king says, what do you need? So here is one of the things that I love. Nehemiah goes in and he asks for some very specific things in response to the king. The Bible says that he asked for letters to the governors for permission to travel through. He asked for letters to Asaph, who is running the king's forest, to give him materials that he's going to need. And he also begins to say, make sure that you give me what I need, all right, that you protect me by giving me these letters to get through. So he's asking for letters timber, and protection to go and complete the work. Nehemiah, when he asked for these things, Nehemiah is very specific. And here's why this is so important. Nehemiah, it is clear, he has done the research, he has done the hard work, and he has done the brain work. And it is my assessment that as people in the kingdom, we can be great at doing the spiritual work of praying and crying out to God and talking to him. I think we struggle sometimes with the heart work, which is letting God change us before he changes our situation. But then number 3, I know we struggle with the brain work. And because we struggle with the brain work, we do not get as much traction in the world as we do in the spirit. I'm going to say it again. We don't get as much traction in the world as we do in the spirit because the world operates by a different set of rules. If you are applying for a grant, yes, you could say, look, God told me I was going to get this. God told me this was going to be me. That's great. But they need a set of data. They need data. They need numbers. They need clarity to be able to see what you're going to do. I'm not just going to give you $50,000 because you said that it belongs to you and you named it and you claimed it. I need to see the data. I need to see that you have done the work. I need to know that you can handle what you're asking me for. And that's why most grants that you apply for, many of them, they want to see the proof that you are already doing the work before they will come alongside you and fund you. And I say this all the time, every system has a name. And what I mean by that is every system you see, there is a person that did something that made those people put that system in place. Your job has a policy on how many days you can be late because at some point, somebody in history took a job and kept showing up late. And every day they was they was leaving the house at 8:05 trying to get to work by 8 o'clock. Every single day. And at some point, somebody saw that, said, enough is enough. We got to put a system in place. We got to put a policy in place because this can't keep happening. At some point, somebody signed up for a grant and was gifted all these sums of money. And when they was gifted all these sums of money, they took the money and did not do what they promised. And somebody said, no, we got to do something with this. This ain't going to work. Every system has a name. And as a result, those of us who are in the kingdom must learn how to navigate and how to operate in that system. Nehemiah knew that. Nehemiah is going to do a spiritual thing, but he steps up with a secular, natural way of communication because Nehemiah, what he is getting ready to do for the kingdom, is getting ready to be funded and resourced by somebody in the world. Oh my Lord. Listen, I think I just prophesied to somebody. That's a word from somebody. Is that God is about to use somebody else. Somebody said that the wealth of the wicked. Somebody said that the kingdoms of this world, come on, have now become. Come on, y'all know what it is. Listen, Nehemiah is getting ready to have a God project funded by men. It is men who's about to do this. And as a result, he has to speak their language. As a result, he has to be able to clearly articulate exactly what he needs. And what I'm asking you is, are you able to clearly articulate what you need? The person who might be getting ready to fund what God is doing in your life, they might not be a kingdom person. They might not understand godly language. And yet God may have captured them and captured their heart and may be sending them to you to do just that. I told you this the other day. One of our pastors, we were having a conversation. This guy who is not, as far as we know, is not a believer, is not in the kingdom. He called them, reached out to them and said, are y'all looking for a church? They said, yes. Well, he said, look, come over, look at the building. They go to look at the building. He said, well, look, if y'all want it, it's y'all's. Y'all tell me what y'all need. I'll fix whatever y'all want to fix. I'll build whatever y'all want to build. We'll figure out the money part later. If y'all want it, y'all tell me what you need. Listen to me. God has a way. God has a way of pulling this thing together. He has a way of making this thing happen and making this thing work. He has a way. God has a way. I hope y'all grabbing this. I hope y'all are getting this. He has a way. Somebody put that in the chat for me. God has a way. God has a way. He has a way that he pulls this thing together. He has a way that he makes this thing work. He has a way that he pulls it all around. God has a way. And I need y'all to grab that. And Nehemiah goes in and he lays this thing down. He is clear about what he needs and he sets it before, and he is so confident going before the world because he has already gone before God. See, standing before the world is easy when you have already kneeled before the Lord. Oh my goodness. Standing before men is easy when you've already bowed before the Lord. And I'm telling you, when the time is right and when your posture is right and when you are where he wants you to be, he has a way of doing what he wants to do in and through your life. And here's what I want to ask you. Where in your life have you been hoping for a comeback without really sitting down and counting the cost and really listing out the time, the money, the conversations, and the changes that it's going to take to get from where you are to where you want to go? Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all something. And I'm not gonna give you all the details because I don't want to tell y'all too much of my business. But I will tell you this. I set a goal, and I set a ridiculous goal. In the first quarter of the year, I want to have more impact on churches and businesses in the kingdom than I did in all of 2025. Now, that is absolutely crazy. To come into a year saying, I want to do more in the first 3 months of this year than I did in all of the 12 months of last year. Okay. So I set this ridiculous goal, and I did. I set this goal, and I said, and my wife, she looks at me and she knows how I am by now. She knows I'm one of those people. I'm extreme, right? I don't operate in the middle a whole lot. Like, I'm an extreme person. Either I'm all in or I'm all out. I don't really do stuff halfway. I'm all in or I'm all out. And when it comes to my purpose and my calling, I'm all in. Okay, I'm all in. And so I said, okay, if we want to have more impact in the first quarter of the year than we did in all of last year, I can't just say that. I've got to count the costs. I've got to figure out what is it going to take for us to get there. And so guess what? I started putting together strategy, and I started listing out what it was going to take for us to have more impact in the first 90 days of 2026 than we did in all of 2025. That's what I did. I set it out. It's crazy, right? Well, here's what happened when I started counting the costs. I started looking at that and I said, all right, what is it going to take? I said, all right, here's a couple of things that we're going to have to do. Number one, our team is going to have to get on the same page. And so I reworked our whole team. And so now our entire business runs on 6 systems. I call it the Simple Six. I put together the Simple Six. I put it together. I detailed it out. I laid it out exactly what the systems are. I said, look, these are the 6 things we're focusing on. If anything does not fit into these Simple Six, we're not doing it. All right. And I laid out those Simple Six. And then after I laid out the Simple Six, I planned a retreat. And so I pulled our whole team together, all of our leaders, our team, our staff, rather, and we came together and we met and we spent about 6 hours on a Saturday morning in December. We spent about 6 hours walking step by step through each system because every system is owned by a person. And so I said, look, you're no longer responsible for a role, you're responsible for a whole system. This is your system. If it goes well, you get the credit. If it does not go well, you get the blame. It's your fault, and we got to have a conversation. Every one of you owns a system. If you run your system well, we are going to win because the system has been built and everything, every piece of strategy has been built with this goal and with this future in mind. We put together a system, all right? I said, so we got the stuff internal. What do we need to do external? Well, one of the things that we need to do external is that we need to create more opportunities for us to help people because the best way to prove to people that you can help them is to actually help them. So we put together a 21-day challenge, which you are a part of right now. And we said, if we do this challenge for 21 days, we're going to have so many people cycle through this challenge that we're going to be able to help as many as possible. I looked through the registrations this morning. Over the course of this challenge, we have had more than 400 people to register for this challenge. And so we're already coming close to having as great of an impact in the first 21 days of the year than we did all last year. And so we're talking to that. And then we said, you know what? We got to produce a legacy work. I got to produce a legacy work. And this is something I was already working on, but I pushed the gas on it. I said, if the first quarter of next year is going to be strong, we got to produce a legacy work. And so that's why coming up in about 8 more days, my first book is going to be released, The Comeback Plan. It's going to be on Amazon. And I'm going to do a special for everybody out there. It's going to be available. It's available for pre-order right now in paperback. You can go on Amazon. You can pre-order it. I'm also going to make the ebook a special launch price for the first couple of days. For the first 3 days, I believe, of the launch, this ebook is only going to be $2.99. You can get it on Kindle. It's going to be right there for you, the whole nine. But it's a whole blueprint based on the book of Nehemiah about how you can revive and revitalize a church. It's the whole blueprint, and I've got resources that are gonna go with it. I got all kind of tools, all kind of stuff, the whole nine, right? And we started pulling all of those things together, and all of this is driving us towards. And we also said, "Hey, look, we got to launch these systems for businesses. There are businesses out there that need systems, and so we produce business systems in a box. And so we launched that. We open up the founders offer, and it's going to go live. Come up February 1st. So we're going to start doing that. We're going to have a webinar but like all these different things. Here's the point that I'm making to you is that I counted the cost. If you put a goal out there and say, God, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do, but you don't count the cost of what it's going to take for you to get there, you're just hoping. You're just wishing. And the wishing well is where vision goes to die. Because oftentimes when when we're wishing for things, these are things that we're hoping that are just going to magically happen somehow. But when we start to prepare and we start to count the costs, it's different. So how much time is it going to take you to get where you're trying to go? How much money is it going to cost you? Who do you need to have a conversation with? What are the things about yourself you've got to change? What are the things about your organization that need to change? What needs to happen? Okay, I just dropped my candle. What needs to happen for you to get from where you are to where God is calling you to go? How do you get there? You can't just wish it. You got to have a plan. What's your plan? And Nehemiah has a clear strategy and Nehemiah has a clear plan. So here's one of the things I want you to get. Here's one of the things that Nehemiah teaches us. And this is the third question in your workbook. What does Nehemiah teach you about planning and provision, working alongside faith and favor? And here's what he shows us. They go hand in hand. Is that, true favor, and this is what I believe a huge part of favor is that you have got to do your part and then let God do his part. You got to do your part. Even in salvation, you got to confess with your mouth and believe in your heart. Jesus has already done the saving. You got to do the confessing and believing though. You got to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. You got to do your part. So many times in scripture, we see this, if you then I present. If my people who are called by my name, right, then I will hear from heaven. You gotta do your part. It's understanding that this is a partnership. It's understanding that you got to bring something to the table. I think about it this way. Let's imagine that somebody comes into your life and they say, "Hey, look, if the goal is for us to get to 100, all right? And for us to get to 100, wherever you are, I'm gonna double it, okay? So let's say you need $100 to complete this huge vision, right? You need $100 to complete this vision. That's too small. Let's go bigger than that. Let's say you need $100,000. Let's go bigger than that. Let's say you need $1 million. Okay. You believe in God for $1 million. You got $1 million vision. There's something you need to do that's $1 million. And let's say somebody comes along and says, hey, look, whatever you do, whatever you raise, whatever you can invest, I'm gonna match it. If you come in with $1,000, all you get from them is $1,000. If that's all you come in with, that's all you get. But if you can find a way to get to 100,000, to get to 300,000, to mess around and get to 500,000, then guess what? Now what's added to you is so much greater. And here's all I'm saying. I don't know what God wants to pour into you, what he want to add to you. But what I'm saying to you is the more that you bring to the table, the better off you will be. You want help, you want people to come and help you got to get down the road. I say this to pastors all the time. You want volunteers? If you want healthy volunteers and strong volunteers, then you got to get down the road. One of the worst things you can do is go and recruit a volunteer and then tell them once they commit, they got to build a whole ministry from scratch. Hey, can you come help us with kids ministry? Yeah, sure, I'll come help y'all. Okay, tell me what y'all got so far. What kind of curriculum y'all use? Oh, we don't have a curriculum. Oh, okay. How many volunteers already in ministry? Oh, we don't have nothing. Okay, is the building set up? Is a room? You already got a room set up and designed? We got a room, but it's not set up and designed. It's nothing. It's been a storage closet, right? So what do y'all have? Nothing. Well, really nothing. We just got you. We just got you. Come on in. That's the worst way in the world. The best way, leader, is to do the thinking work. Is to put some stuff in place, and even if they come in and they want to change it, great. But have it down the road. Have a job description together. Have a plan together. Have all these things laid out so that when it's time for you to start moving forward, it's simple, it's easy, and people don't have to create from scratch. This is one of the reasons that small churches started to see an exodus of their best volunteers to larger churches. It is because when they come to our churches, they have to build from scratch. And it is not something that most people are gifted or geared up to do. They're just not. It's just not. So we got to fix it. You can't just have folks coming in try to start from scratch. And so what you got to understand is that a part of you waiting for the favor that God has on you is that you got to give him something to bless. You got to give him something to pour favor on. Nehemiah brings a plan and says, God, breathe on this. And some of us are asking God to breathe on nothing. We're asking him to just breathe on a thought and an idea, and it doesn't work. One of the things I even had to learn as a leader is that I had to learn that there are certain places where I can share. There are certain circles where I can think out loud, and there are certain places where I got to develop that thought before I present it. And one of the mistakes I used to make is I love to think out loud with all of my leaders. And then I learned that some of my leaders could handle me thinking out loud because they know, oh, that's just past his process. Like he's thinking out loud. Some of the stuff he's saying and he's thinking through is not stuff that he's ready to do yet. And that's how I operate. Like I work through stuff and I'm like, man, it'd be dope if we did this. Like, man, I really want to do that. And saying I really want to do that does not mean I actually want to do it. It means that it's an idea that has crossed my mind that I'm processing verbally, and you're just getting to listen to me process it. When I'm serious and ready to do something, I come with it with a plan attached to it. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that there are certain spaces that I walk into. When I say something, I got to be ready to go all the way because those people are there to receive leadership from me. And so you got to learn that too. But a huge part of that is when you come to the table, come with a plan. Your leaders will respect you differently if you're organized. I would show you, but I'm getting ready to do my staff meeting. Our staff meeting is every Monday. And we start every staff meeting with a full agenda. It's a full detailed agenda that encapsulates what we did last week, that summarizes what's happened over the last week in our business, that talks through, reminding us of the vision, reminding us of the things that we need to be focused on, making sure that we're not slipping away from our targets and our goals, that everybody is still on track, finding out where people need support, finding out where people need the help. We start with a devotional to spiritually enrich everybody and make sure we're on the same page, like all those kinds of things. So it's like, man, listen, we go in prepared, and that preparation lets our team know that hey, their work is not in vain because I'm not asking them for something that I'm not doing myself. I make it very clear to them that I'm working as hard as you are. I'm working harder than I'm asking you to work. Make it very clear. All right. So let's go to this and then we'll get ready to start rounding this thing out. All right. What 2 to 3 letters or a timber or items do you need to put on paper today? What are the practical resources you need to lead your comeback? If you're a business owner, what do you need to lead your comeback? Do you need a strategy to generate leads? You got a great idea, but you don't know how to get people to come to you and to learn about who you are. You don't know how to get in front of the right audience. What do you need? You don't have a great digital presence. What do you need? You don't have a strong social media strategy. Like, what do you need? What are the things that you need to lead the comeback that God has called you to lead? If you're a business owner and your business needs to make revenue, because if you're a business and you can't make money, you're not a business. Okay. You got to make money to be a business. And if you need to make money in your business, everything starts with lead generation. Everything starts with getting in front of the right people. Everything starts with collecting names, phone numbers, and emails. And if you can't do that, then you can't have a business. But collecting information from people starts with most often giving something away. And most business owners are too insecure to give away enough value to allow people to see what they really bring to the table. We're too insecure to do that. We're too insecure. I've had people say to me all the time, like, man, you just give everything away. Like, dang, man, you give this and you give that. And like, do I need to join your program and so forth and so on? I said, well, it's up to you. I said, but let me tell you what happens. Let me tell you my strategy. I'll give it to you right now. I said, what and why is free. Always will be. I'll teach till I'm blue in the face, till there's no breath left in my body. I do not care. I can give away because all the topics that I talk about, I could talk about for hours and days and weeks and months and years and never run out of content because I it's based on the word. So you never run out of content. I said what people pay me for is implementation. Information is a dime a dozen. You can go on YouTube, find information. You can go chat GPT, find information. What people need help with is implementation. How do I actually get this done? That's what people need help with. And if you're a business owner, especially if you're a coach or consultant, that's one of the things that you've got to understand is that you can give away the what and the why as a way of saying to people, hey, look, you can trust me. This is my belief. The best way to prove to somebody that I can help them is for me to actually help them. Right now, I'm spending 21 days proving to anybody who wants it that, hey, look, I can help you. Here's your help. Here you go, right here. I'm going to give you all the tools. And every day, I want you to get off of this 21-day challenge saying, he knows more than he's telling me. He's giving me a piece of the puzzle, but he knows some more. I know he knows some more. I know that ain't all he know. I know he got some secrets. I know he got some. And you're right, I do. I do. But guess what? If you're gonna build a successful business, you've got to be able to give people something, an ebook, a resource, something that says to them, I'm the person who can help you and let me prove it. If you are a church, you have got to be thinking about what are the practical things you need to go to the next step. Does your church need a website so that you can be discovered? Can people even find you online if they Google you? If somebody Googles church near me, does your church come up? Is your social media presence welcoming and inviting? When I look at your social media, do I see a bunch of people excited to be in your church and excited to be a part? Because people go where people go. So can you show me that you already got some people and that there are people who are already said yes? Pictures of happy people in the church are like Amazon reviews. They are proof that you are who you say you are. So can you show that to me? Can you let me see it? Can you walk me through it? Come on. Can you help me out? Right? What are the practical things that you need? All right. So let's close out. Let's get ready to round this out because I want to give you this. And let me say this real quick. You need to wrestle with whatever cost you've been avoiding. Some of you have been avoiding a cost that you already know exists. You know what it's going to take. You know the time, the energy, the money, the resources. You know the person who can help you. You know all the different things, but you're avoiding the cost. And I want to tell you, change becomes more expensive over time. Change does not get cheaper, it becomes more expensive. And especially in the world that we live in. I won't go on a rant, but I'm telling y'all, with the rise of AI, one of the things that's getting ready to happen is that trust eventually is going to start to collapse. I was sharing this with my wife last night. We were sitting down and we were having kind of one of our late night meals after our webinar last night. And I said to her, she showed me this story on that came across Facebook, and I looked at it and I said, "Oh, that's fake." I said, "I don't think that's real." I said, "I think that's fake." I said that's one of the things that's about to happen over the next year or so, next couple of years. I said, "We're not gonna always be able to trust what we see." I said, "We're not gonna be able to trust what we see because with the rise of AI, people are getting so good at um, AI is getting so good at producing things that look real, and it's going to be hard for people to tell the difference. And I sometimes can tell the difference because I'm working with those tools, but those tools are getting better and better and better. And so here's what's going to happen: public trust is going to start to erode. And so what happens when public trust erodes is people cling harder to those that they already trust. So what it's going to do when public trust erodes, it's going to deepen connections that are already in existence. So here's what that means. It means that these next 6 to 8 months are vitally important for us to build connections with people so that we can start to establish trust. If you are a church, these next 6 months are vital for you to connect with people in your community so they come to know who you are. So that as public trust starts to erode, you become a figure and a place and a safety and trust. If you are a business owner or a nonprofit leader, even a pastor, and I try not to use this language a lot when it comes to churches and pastors, but I'm telling you, like, this is important. You have to become a person of influence. That if you lead an organization, every organization has to have a front person, a person who is the face of the organization. Over these next 6 to 8 months, you need to become a key person of influence. You need to become a person that people trust over these next 6 to 8 months. You need to become a person that people can look at and say that I know this person, I trust them, I have gotten down with them, I know who they all those kind of things. All right. My strategy is really simple. And again, I learned this from mentors, I learned this from training, I learned this from all these places. That in order to build trust, one of the things I knew, so going back to our plan to do more in the first 90 days of the year that we did in all of 2025, one of the things I learned last year is that for people to trust you, they need to spend about 11 hours with you. They need to spend 11 hours with you in order to trust you. That 11 hours that they spend with you needs to happen across at least 7 different occasions, which means it's not just one long 11 hours moment. You might spend 30 minutes with me here, an hour with me here, 2 hours with me here, whatever it is. Like, it needs to be spread out, and it needs to happen across 4 different platforms. So that means you need to see me on Zoom. You need to see me on YouTube. You need to see me on Facebook. You need to see me on TikTok. You need to see me on Instagram. Like, all these different, that's just the science. Okay. 7-11-4 formula, right? That's the science behind it, right? And so in order to build trust, you need to spend 11 hours with me. So guess what? If you join a 21-day challenge and you come and hang out with me every day for 21 straight days, what do you think happens? You get to know me because I'm spending 21 days literally giving something away to you without asking for anything from you. 21 straight days. Here goes everything I got. Here is all the help you need. I'm going to give you in 21 days what other people would not give you in 20 years. I'm going to give it all away. I'm going to let you know I'm here for you. I got your back. Like I want 2026 to be the best year of your life. I don't care if I never see you again, if I never talk to you again after these 21 days, that's okay. But for these 21 days, I want to give you everything I got and let you know you're not in this thing by yourself. I'm here with you. I got your back. I'm here with you and I'm ready to get it. 21 days. Why? Because I know the trust recession is coming. And I want you to have somebody that you can trust when you're not sure who to trust. I want you to have somebody you can trust when you're not sure who you can trust. And so when that time comes, we're going to be right here saying, nah, if it's a kingdom leader, I don't care if they lead a ministry, if they lead an organization, if they lead a business, if they in the kingdom, I want them to know they got an ally in me, that we're a safe place over here. We got their back no matter what they're going through. That's because we're building trust because we know the trust recession is coming. And so I'm saying to you, pastor, business owner, you don't have time to waste. You need to count the cost right now because you need to start doing what God called you to do. You need to start letting your voice be heard. You need to start putting yourself out there. You need to start sharing what God has put in your heart. You owe it to the world to establish your business and your ministry so that people can see it. You owe it to the world. If that's what God has called you to do, you got to do the work. And a part of it is counting the cost. All right. So here's your action for today. And then we're going to close out so I can get ready for my staff meeting. All right. Here's what's got to happen next. I need you to create your list. These are going to be your letters in timber, just like Nehemiah asked for. Your letters in timber. All right. And you're going to categorize your list into 5 things. I'm going to give y'all this quickly. But for those of you who are in the VIP, you got the full workbook. And I give you some more details in the VIP area for those who are part of that and who want to get the whole, you want to get the whole shebang, right? You want to get all the sauce, all the details around how to walk through this. All right. And by the way, I'm going to share here in just a second. Our first VIP private coaching call is going to be coming up on Saturday. And so for all of those who are VIPs coming up on Saturday, we're going to spend an hour together and I'm going to spend an hour helping you continue to clarify your plan and answering your questions and walking through some more of the details of this. All right. I just dropped that VIP link in the chat so you can grab that. All right. So listen, we're going to walk through that. So look at this 5 areas that I want you to create list. When it comes to your comeback, here's a question you got to ask. What is it going to take? What is it going to take to get from where we are to where we're trying to go? Here is what you've got to ask. Number one, how much time is it going to take? Time. How much time is it going to take for you to get from where you are to where you're called to be? Number two, money. What are you going to have to invest in to get from where you are to where you're trying to go? So let me be clear. It's going to cost you some time. You're not going to get to your best. You're not going to get to where you're called to go and where you need to go and it not cost you time. It's going to cost you some time. You're going to have to set aside some time. You need to be specific. The king asked Nehemiah, how long are you going to be gone? You got to be able to answer that question. How long will you be gone? How long will it take? So it's going to take some time. Number two, it's going to take some money. You're going to have to invest. In order for us to grow our business from our first $1,000 to where we are today, we had to invest a lot. I've told y'all before, I started out with a coach that cost me $27 a month, taught me how to make digital products. And once I learned how to make digital products with ebooks and webinars and master classes, then I transitioned and I went to a coach that cost me $500 a month. He taught me how to form frameworks, how to organize my thoughts, how to create this planets model where my core idea could be broken out into a mind map that I could trace to see what I was really building and really doing. He taught me how to get my first leads, how to get in front of the right people. And then I graduated from there and I joined a program that was $15,000. They taught me how to build a community, how to build a course, how to build an academy that would help our target, our pastors, our leaders come in and be able to digest everything we did. I spent 15 more thousand dollars on another course that taught me Facebook ads, that taught me how to run ads, how to get directly in front of my target audience, reach the people I was called to reach, serve them well, get down into it, no issue. It costs. You're going to have to invest. I had another class that I took that taught me how to run events, that taught me the science behind recruiting people for events. That if you want to do an event, whether it be a virtual event or an in-person event, here is how to get in front of your target audience. Here is how to get in front of the perfect person. Here is how to get in front of them and be able to make sure that you get people to sign up so you're not doing events that nobody comes to. All of those things took time, they took money. Number 3, who do you need to talk to? What conversations do you need? You need to figure out I say this over and over again, and I'm gonna say it today. Here's the book right here. This book changed my life. Who Not How. This book changed my life. And the reason it changed my life is because it taught me that when I need to do something, I don't do it through just learning how to do it. I do it through finding the person who already knows how to do it. It amazes me how many people will struggle trying to figure something out for themselves when there are people who have already figured it out and you can just go and pay them for their experience and expertise and you reap all the benefits. We would rather go through all the struggle ourselves rather than just go and find somebody who already knows how to do it. Yes, I can sit up here and I can learn how to do video production, or I can go and find a company that I can pay $300 a month. And every week when I finish a video, I send it to them and they edit it for me. And now I can post that video. And I just mentioned that because that's exactly what I'm about to do. I just found a company that will edit all of my videos for me, do post production, make them look good, put the lower thirds on it, put the intro, outro on there, do all that kind of stuff like that. And I can pay them a flat fee and they'll do it. And I don't have to sit up here wrestling and struggling with technology and with all this kind of I don't want to do video editing. I'm gonna have a conversation. Nehemiah went to King Artaxerxes, who is the king of the area where you're trying to grow. Who is the person that can really help you take the next step in what you're trying to do? Who is that person? Number 4, here's another one. What are the skills that are required for you to go from where you are to where you're trying to go? If you don't develop your skills, you might not qualify for what you're asking for. If you only have the capacity to be the leader of 50, you can't keep asking God for 500 without improving your skill. If you can only handle 5 clients, you can't keep asking God for 25. And I know that's the mistake I was making. I was saying, Lord, man, send all these folks. I want 1,000 people year one. And it's like, man, listen, that would have put us out of business and embarrassed us. I did not yet have the skill for where I was trying to go, which is why now I'm constantly challenging our team to build for 10x. We served 1,000 pastors. Let's build the capacity to handle 10,000. Like, let's figure out how to do that. How do we get there? What are the skills you need? And then last but not least, what is the support you need? What help do you need to ask for in order to get where you're trying to go? And I want to challenge you, don't spiritualize this. Be practical. Be practical. When it says time, don't say, oh, I just need the Lord to make the sun stand still over my life. Like, listen, I'm asking you for hours. Okay? That's what I'm asking you for. How many hours are you going to have to commit to get where you need to go? I'm not asking you whether or not the supernatural can show. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, how many hours is it gonna take? Is it going to take you 10 hours a week? Is it going to take you 20 hours a week? How many hours is it gonna take? If I ask you how much money it's gonna cost, I'm not asking you if the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. That's not what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is, how much will it cost? If you want to double the size of your business, how much do you think you need to spend on ads? Do your research. How much do you need to spend on product? How much do you need to That's what I'm asking. I'm not asking you for all this pie in the sky. I'm asking you for practical things. Conversations. I'm not asking you if God is whispering your names in rooms that you're not in. That's what I'm asking. That is not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, who is a person that God has put in your life, that He has put in your sphere of influence, that He has put around you, who you can go and talk to and say to them, like, hey, I'm trying to do this. Can you help me? Who is that person? That's what I'm asking you for. When I ask for skills, I'm not asking you is that if he's gonna teach my hands to war. Like, what I'm asking you is, do you need to learn lead generation? Do you need to learn Facebook ads? Do you need to become a better speaker so you can go on video and do lives? Do you need to learn how to do TikToks and social media? That's what I'm asking you. All right. When I ask you about support, I'm not asking you if he has commanded angels to encamp right about. I know that's true, but what I'm asking you is, what kind of help are you going to need? Get practical. And I'm sorry I have to say this, but y'all know how we are. Come on, man. Y'all know. Like, y'all know how we can be. Y'all know how we can be. So I'm just I'm just being honest. I need you to be practical, okay? Do not be pie in the sky. I need you to be practical about what it's gonna take for you to get from where you are to where God has called you to be. That's all I'm saying. Be practical. Be practical. All right? Be practical. I'm gonna close out here. I shared this some time ago. But I'll share this again for those of you who haven't heard it. All right. Several years ago, I was a pastor, and I went through a very unique situation where, you know, I was leading a church, and we had turned this church around and grown this church, all this kind of stuff like that. And I had transitioned with somebody, and but after a while, it just went sour between me and the leader that I transitioned with. We came in, and we came in at a very tough time. We helped, walk that church through, all these different transitions. We started reaching new people, and it got real uncomfortable for in that transition. I'll just put it that way, okay? And so, long story short, I had to make the tough decision to resign. Right, I had to make the tough decision to resign and to step away from that pastorate and to step full time into what God had called me to do here with Simple Systems. Okay, but you know that was not an easy transition. It wasn't an easy transition. Um, I had a lot of things tied up in that role. I had invested in um, I had invested so much into that circle and into that opportunity. And I'll just say this because I don't want to go into detail because it's still, I'm still loosely connected to some of those people. And so even though I feel like I got the short end of the stick, I'm always one of those people who want to be honoring in every situation. And so it is what it is. So I'll say this: when we had to make that tough decision, not only was I walking away from something that I knew strongly God had called me to do, um, but I was walking away from our a huge part of the resource that God was using for our family. I was walking away from our pastoral salary, and I was walking away from all the things that was connected to it because it wasn't just a pastoral salary. I had a bunch of other things tied up into it that I was doing and a bunch of other areas that I was serving, and it was a significant chunk of what was sustaining us. And when I started to see it go bad and go in the opposite direction, with this very small group of people, I had to decide that I could stay and I could fight and I could go through a fight, and I went through the whole piece, and I told my wife, I told my mentor, I said, listen, here's what happened. I said, if we go all the way through this fight, I said, I'm in the right. I said, I know I'm not wrong. I'm in the right. I've done it everything the right way. I know all of these different things. I said, if we fight, it's going to hurt us for a year. For a year, we probably be for 6 months to a year, we've been in a tough spot. I said, no, I said 6 to 9 months, we've been in a real tough spot because the people we're going to lose that we're going to have to replace, which is really primarily just one or two families. I said, but they're so ingrained, it's going to hurt us for 6 to 9 months. I said, but in a year's time, we'll not only be back to where we were, but we'll be stronger. I said, if we go through the fight, I said, in a year's time, we be right back to where we are and we be stronger and we be rocking and rolling. Church will look completely different because I would really be free to implement the full vision that God has given me. I said, but in a year's time, we'll be back. So I counted the cost. But then I said, I want to get to God's vision for me, but I don't think I want to go about it this way. I don't want on my resume that I grew one of the most healthy and prominent churches, but in order to do it, the narrative has to be that I had to, argue and fight with a mentor, and I just didn't want that narrative. And so I said, "No, babe," I said, "I'm gonna step away." And I said, before I step away, let me say this. I'm counting the costs. It's going to mean some major sacrifices. I said, because not only do we have to replace all this income, but there's more things that we've got to build. There's more things that we need for the business. There's all these things we need. And I just laid it out, man. I counted the cost. And y'all, it hurt. It hurt bad. It hurt bad. We had to literally downsize every area of our lives. And see, these are the parts of the story that people don't get to see. Is we had to downsize so many of the major areas of our lives. We had to go through shifts that I never thought we had to go through. I had to go from all the space we ever wanted, and we had to downsize into space that felt too small and too tight. We had to downsize vehicles. We had to like I would get emotional if I stopped to tell you all the sacrifices we had to make to go through that transition. But I counted the cost, and when I started to count the cost, and once I knew what the costs were, I no longer blamed God because I knew God was gonna do his part. I knew that we were righteous and we would not be forsaken, so I knew we weren't gonna die. I knew life was gonna be a little different, and life was gonna be a little harder, it was gonna be a little bit more challenging, but I knew we weren't gonna die. I knew he was gonna take care of us. But I also knew what I was going to have to do in order to build back up not only to where we were, but beyond where we were. I knew what it was gonna take for us to get there. And so you know what I did is that I put my head down and I started working. I put my head down and I started doing what I had to do. I started investing the time that it was gonna take every working hour. My kids will tell you to this day, man, daddy always working. Daddy always working because while they were asleep, I was doing what I had to do. I was going to visit places. I was going to build things. I was doing stuff I didn't even want to do. I was building websites and I was building courses and I was building programs and I was doing stuff for other people at a fraction of the cost of what I would normally do it because I just had to do what I had to do to keep building my resume, to keep building my skills, to keep doing everything. And I just counted the cost. And when I counted the cost, I just kept doing it. I put the time into it. I put every dollar I had into it. I put every dollar into it. There's probably a 4 or 5 year period where I did not buy a single new piece of clothing. I did not buy anything for myself. There was a period where all I had to do was just keep my head down and just keep working. Just keep working. Just keep on going. Just keep on doing what you're called to do. Keep on increasing your skill. Keep on growing. Keep on learning. Keep on growing. Keep on learning. And every time I would get an influx, nope, we not done yet. This ain't harvest. This ain't nothing but a seed. And so this has got to go right back into something else. Nope, this is not a harvest. This got to go right back into something else. And we just kept on going and kept on going. And even now, I'm still in that process. I haven't made it yet. Even now, I'm still in that process. Even though I'm thankful to God that He brought us out of what we were in. And our season has completely changed and is still changing. But I'm in that process where counting the cost did not just change how I think, it changed how I acted. And what I'm saying to you in closing is that if you want to see things change, you got to count the cost and you got to get to work. You got to count the cost and you got to get to work. Listen, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to do it for you. There is nobody who's going to come and walk in your church and say, I'm going to fix all your problems. There's nobody coming who's going to walk in your business and say, I'm going to fix all your problems. If you're going to get where God has called you to go, you're going to have to count the costs, put your head down, and work. God is going to put favor on you because that's how good He is. But you've got to give Him something to bless. You've got to give Him a vision to bless. You've got to give Him something that He can bless, that He can pour into, that He can put His wind behind. Listen, if you want to catch the wind, you got to have a kite. Come on, somebody. If you want to catch the wind, you got to have a kite. You got to give God something that He can bless and that He can push forward in your life. You got to give Him something. All right. So look, let me close here. For those of you who want some more support, as I said before, coming up this Saturday, and I'm getting ready to put this in the VIP community. Coming up this Saturday, we are going to be doing our first VIP session. It is going to be this Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, or whenever we get out the Devo. So whenever we finish this call on Saturday, we'll jump straight into that. And so I'm going to spend an hour with those of you who are in the VIP area. So if you've been doing the work, you've been doing your homework, you've been working through the free workbook, come in and get the paid workbook in the VIP and start going through it. So when we get together coming up on Saturday, I can start walking with you to help you start taking the next step so we can get from where we are to where God has called us to be. All right. And again, don't forget for those of you who need support, we have something for you. All you've got to do is just continue to check out the links in the description, check out the links in our bio. All of those things are there. All right. One final thing as we go, I want to pray for you. But before we pray for you, I want to ask you to do me a favor. I want you to go on Amazon and I want you to grab a pre order copy of my upcoming book. This book comes out on the 20th. And I want you to grab it. I want you to get this book. It is the comeback plan, how pastors can revive, revitalize, and rebuild the church after crisis and cultural change. So if COVID changed your church, if you've been through crisis, if you've been through cultural change, if you've been through all these different shifts, I want you to go and grab this book. Everything I'm teaching you is based on principles that are in this book from the book of Nehemiah. I made it really simple. It's a really easy read. I didn't want to just put all these words. Everything in here is actionable. Look at that. This is a book that you can work through literally in a weekend. You can work through this whole book. And also on the inside, I have got something very special that you can't get anywhere else. There's a QR code right there that is going to take you to a cache of resources. I'm going to give you some resources with the book, and there are going to be other resources that you can purchase that will come along with this to help you lead a comeback in your church. Right. So I want you to do me a favor, just go and pre-order the book. And when you pre-order the book, I want you to leave me a review. Here's what I'm trying to do, y'all. I need about 500 people, 500 of y'all who are on my list, maybe 1,000 of y'all who I'm connected with, to go and to pre-order the book and to leave me a 5-star review. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hit the Amazon bestseller list in the first week of the book launch. And the way to do that is for you to go pre-order the book so you can leave a review. Once you purchase it, Amazon will let you leave a review, and you can leave a review about the book. You can leave a review about Simple Systems. You can leave a review about work we've done together. But just go and share your testimony, share how this has been helpful to you. And I'm telling you, man, that would mean so much to me. So for those of you who've been blessed by this, and you say, man, thank you for this. And sometimes y'all inbox me, man, what's your cash app and so on and so on. I'm like, look, that's not necessary. I appreciate it. It's not necessary. Here's one of the ways that you can help. Go pre-order your copy of the book, and after you pre-order your copy of the book, leave a 5-star review and help us to hit the Amazon bestseller list in several Christian categories, because if we do, it will make all the difference. All right. So let's have a word of prayer and let's close out. All right. Father, I thank you so much for all that you have said and done. God, I thank you for this time that we have shared together. And I thank you that you've allowed us to be here, God, to grow together. God, here's my prayer. Pray that you would help us to count the cost. God, you have given us vision. You are bringing revival to our hearts. And now help us to bottle that up into actionable steps that we can take. God, we do not want to go another year being stuck in the same place. We cannot go through another year of the same cycle of ups and downs and in and outs. God, it's time for us to go to higher heights. It's time for us to go to deeper depths. It's time for us to go from faith to faith and from glory to glory. God, it's time for us to step up to another level. So, Father, by your Holy Spirit, help us to count the cost. Show us how much time it's going to take. Show us how much money it's going to cost. Show us who we need to connect with, who we need to talk to. God, show us exactly the skills that we need to increase and show us the kind of support that we need around us to get from where we are to where we need to go. Father, I pray that no leader would take this journey alone, but that instead you would send the people, the person, the team, the support, the community that they need to walk on this journey. God, I believe over the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to start to enter a trust recession. So, Father, I pray that as we put in the effort and the skills and the work to become people who can be trusted, God, that you would continue to take us in places where we cannot take ourselves. God, for every video we post, I pray that you would just put your wind behind it, that our planning would meet your favor, that our vision would meet your provision. Every single time we take a step to do something that moves us in the direction you want us to go, God, I pray that you would multiply our efforts, that for us, 1 plus 1 would not equal two, but that we would have kingdom multiplication, that we would see things move further and faster than we ever thought possible. Father, I pray that your wind would be at our back as we endeavor to do what you've called us to do and be who you've called us to be. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Listen, thank y'all so much for being here this morning. I hope that this has been a blessing to you, man. I have so enjoyed, having this time with y'all and connecting with y'all and walking through this. And I'm looking forward to what it's going to be tomorrow and what God's going to do. All right. I think tomorrow I have another special guest coming in. And so I'm looking forward to it. I've got another, one of our pastors is coming to share with us tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be an absolutely glorious time. And I'm excited for you to get a chance to experience. All right. So listen, don't forget, take the next step. All right. Do what God has called you to do. Go to Amazon right now. Go and pre-order that book. I'm going to be looking for all of you who pre-order. I'm going to do something special for you. So once you pre-order it, all you've got to do is just DM me, text me, email me, inbox me your receipt. Let me know to show me that you bought it. And I'm going to do something special for you. I'm going to give you access to one of my free resources, something that we have created. I'll give it to you just as a way of saying thank you. All right. Listen, God bless you. And until tomorrow, keep the gears turning. Peace.